It's build week, and Xbox blew out the show notes. Happy Friday, friends. It's Friday. It is the end of the month. It is Microsoft Build, and there is so much going on that I actually ran out of little buttons to press here to change the information that is on the screen. There is a lot. There was Microsoft Build. Xbox has a lot to talk about, and so let's not waste any time. Hopefully you had a wonderful week. It was Build Week. Let's dive into the news. So there is a bunch of new stuff coming to Paint, Snipping Tool, and Notepad. It's all AI stuffy for the most part, but Paint is getting some stuff that is actually some more useful than others. You can now create stickers, sticker generation. I know that has been what's holding back Paint for all these years. Paint has been updated, but layers and object selection, I think layers has been there, but object selection is now coming to Paint as well. And so that makes it object selection and layers alone make it significantly more useful for the basic entities of image cultivation, if you will. Notepad is getting some AI writing stuff, which I don't. AI and everything is the new mantra, and you just got to get used to it because it's Notepad. It should just be basic stuff. Anyways, this is coming to Canary and Dev. And so, yeah, there is all that. Oh, here's the new snipping tool, by the way, is getting a bunch of updates. So they call it perfect screenshotting, which kind of allows you to finalize and adjust your screenshot post. It works pretty well. So there you go. Those are a couple cool things that are actually coming that are useful. Now, out of Build, there was just a ton of news. And as you would expect in this day and age, everything and from top to bottom, left to right was AI or agentic layer, agentic. I don't know how the pronunciation is going to play out. Agentic layer is usually how my brain says it. And what does this mean? This means AI and everything. This means agents going out, doing your job, doing your tasks, and bringing it back to you and letting you take a look at it and doing all that. So there's Azure AI Foundry, there's Entra Agent IT, there's Copilot Tuning, which allows you to align your Copilot data to everything. But it's agents, AI, and agents. And so there's quite literally too many to really dive into. One of the cool ones that might be worth looking at if you're in the development scene is there's a new GitHub agent, which you can apply to your project. And basically, you know how in GitHub you can assign tasks or whatever bugs to people, or you can now assign it to the AI agent who will then attempt to fix it. Now, you have to approve it and then check it in and do everything else, but it will look at the bug, try to do some research, and get you some basic information, which actually seems relatively useful. So there's also updates to the Windows App SDK, which is, as a reminder, is basically a modern replacement for UWP, which has gone the way of the Dodo. But the most interesting thing that, at least to me, was the NL Web stuff that was announced. So the best way to describe this is like it's HTML, and I'm using, I think, Paul Thurrott's analogy here. It's HTML of the web, if you will. So it's this universal layer that's going to allow these agents to interact in ways so we don't end up with another smart home scenario, which we still might end up where there's like these pockets of things that work together, but it's trying to create a universal layer across the internet that all works together in harmony and harmonious ways to make things discoverable and accessible to these agents. So NL Web is something to keep an eye on if you're in the development side, because I do think there will be traction there, at least in some capacity, until something better comes along. Now, speaking of something better coming along, the segue, the Microsoft Store is making some changes. Again, they're pretty much just like dropping the gate. Now, I'm curious to see how far they're going to let us take this, but basically there's no fees for putting apps in there, Win32 app support, and yeah, so it sounds like you can just kind of bring your stuff there and just plop it in. It'll be interesting to see if Stardock does anything. This is my team lead decision to see if we're going to do this, because there's no fees for individuals, I believe, is the correct interpretation. I'm not sure about large companies yet, even though Stardock is not a large company. We're definitely a medium-sized company, but we'll see. We'll see what plays out there. There's still some licensing things that I've got to pay attention to see what happens on the Microsoft side. So anyways, expect more apps coming to the Microsoft Store in the near future. Also, the Windows subsystem for Linux is now open source, which this kind of feels like this makes a lot of sense, right? Linux open source, the Windows subsystem for Linux on Microsoft or Windows open source. So now you can go and contribute and help bring your favorite wares to that platform if that is your cup of tea. Also announced is that the administrator protection is coming soon to Windows 11. Think of this as like sort of UAC, but on steroids and with temporary tokens. It's a better model and more aggressive might be the wrong term. More, it's not quite zero trust either, but it's more of it's better protection about like just in time is the terminology I was thinking of here for admin account privileges, so it's not across the board, and so these things will be coming to Windows in the near future. Also, Microsoft has a new command line text editor. This is a throwback. I feel like this is going to be my cup of tea. This is a command line text editor, exactly what it sounds like. It's going to remind you of the old Windows days, and is now, I believe it's out. I think you can start testing it, but I don't think it's like generally available. So there is all that. Other things that are coming, new Copilot features with the Windows with the agent and store, meaning that there's a new agent store that's going to allow you to tie all of this stuff together. Edge is getting PDF translation tools, and there are just so many more things that were announced. Not all of them are major that were announced this week at Build. Now, there was just a lot going on at Build, but it's all, as you would expect, developer related. Actually, Google I/O happened. OpenAI bought Johnny Ive's hardware startup, Sonnet 4, I believe, from Claude. I've been using that quite a bit. I believe it's Sonnet, SONNET, is out, and it is a fantastic coding agent, if you will. If you're using Cursor, it is very good. Like, it was just an explosion of AI stuff. And then to top it off, Google announced VO3, which is this video generation tool, which is quite frankly scary. Last year at this time, we were saying like, the AI images have 7 fingers. They are terrible. And today, you're looking at this video from Google, and it's like, I can't tell if this is AI or not. It's like a comedian on stage doing things like, woo. It makes you kind of wonder where we're going to be in a year, and it also makes you wonder how soon until the first sitcom is on CBS with that is completely AI generated, because CBS loves their new sitcoms. They say the most popular sitcom, the highest rated sitcom. They show the same things every year during football season in the fall. So you got to be paying attention to this stuff. There's really no way around it at this point. Now, on to the gaming news, because there's a lot on the gaming side too. First off, the FTC is officially done trying to stop Microsoft from buying Activision, just in time for whatever. Anyways, they have officially, finally, and fully dropped their case against Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard. It is done, it is finito, and Microsoft is officially in the clear. So there is no going backsies, no matter what sees, anyway about that. Now, there's also some new changes coming to the dashboard, which I think these are going to be welcome changes. So first off, you're going to be able to hide system apps. You will also be able to pin favorites to home, and you're also going to be able to reduce the tile counts that you see on the display here. So these are just minor customizations, but candidly, they're like, hey, this feels great and right, and kind of makes you wonder why now. I mean, yesterday would have been better, but the back of my brain is always thinking like, is this related to handheld console launches in any capacity where you might have smaller screen sizes and you need to limit the number of tiles on the display? And part of me thinks it is, right? We're used to like 4K displays, 1080p for the most part, and so being able to dynamically set and adjust it based on the resolution maybe is why some of these settings are trickling in. I don't quite know. Maybe it could just be out of the goodness of their heart that they're finally bringing all these features and functionality to the dashboard, but the back of my brain is like, why now? What changed? What was the catalyst that got us to this point that made me kind of wonder? So anyways, yeah. Anyways, also on the gaming side, because not that there's not enough to talk about here, as one would expect, for the month of April, Microsoft kind of crushed it on the PlayStation leaderboard for top sales. That's not all that unexpected, while it's still potentially unsettling because it's not something we're used to. It is, yeah, I mean, look at this. So for the month of April, they had the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, Forza Horizon 5, Minecraft. I'm not sure why it's still listed as multiple video game manufacturers, obviously, but Minecraft is on there, Indiana Jones, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. What is that? That's 5 of the top 10 selling titles were a Microsoft title. You don't have to like what Microsoft is doing, and specifically, you don't have to like what Xbox is doing, but it's hard to say it's not working. Remember, at the end of the day, the goal of Xbox is to make the company money, and what are they doing right now? They are making a lot of money selling their games on other people's platforms, and so, like, you got to understand that after you spent, $80 billion on acquisitions over the past decade, you got to recoup that cost somehow, and here's here's Microsoft and slash Xbox cleaning up Sony dollars, as they see fit. So there's also so many other news that I ran out of buttons. I don't have any more buttons to press here to change this stuff. So a quick rundown. Xbox announced Retro Classics, 50 plus Activision titles have come to Game Pass. Xbox Bethesda said Doom, The Dark Ages, is ID Software's biggest launch ever. That is, I've been playing Doom. I am on chapter 4 or 5, and I think there's 22 or 23. So I've still got a ways to go, and it's fun. It is the simpleton slash and dash and blow up that I need to get my brain to settle down after a day of work, and you just run around and just blowing up monsters. That's all you do. There's no mystery, there's no science. It's just run, gun, and explode. And that is exactly what I needed for Doom to be. And so yeah. Anyways, GeForce Now is streaming, is coming to the Xbox app, and Hellblade 2 is coming to PlayStation, which will probably top somewhere up in these charts, just like these other things. So, yeah, Microsoft's got a cadence about how they're going to continue to make money when they're not launching big titles on their own platforms, right? You can imagine like a TikTok, not the application, but like it's, hey, whoops, wrong button. You put game on Xbox, it makes dollars. 3 months later, it goes on PlayStation, it makes dollars. You increase the overall the revenue, the floor there up just across the board. It's something that they do. So, anyways, that is the tech news of the week, all of it. And so the big stuff, I should say. And so on to the questions of the week, which is always my favorite part. Assad says, Assad 112, I should say, what is going on with Microsoft and all the protests and boycotts? It seems like they're having a PR nightmare. Yes, so Microsoft's Build, I'm going to try to stay politically neutral for the best that I can. At Microsoft's Build conference and at their 50th anniversary celebration, they had protesters interrupt the keynotes and everything else. And if you were outside of Build, there were banners and people chanting everything you can imagine related to Microsoft's supplying of technology to countries that are deemed to be not doing the right things with the technology. That's just where I'm going to leave it. And so this is all related to the Middle East. It's very easy to look all this up, but that is what it's about. And so is it a PR nightmare for Microsoft? Absolutely is, right? They're having their Build conference. They had their 50th anniversary celebration, and they have people screaming during keynotes about these political topics, and it's disrupting the event. There's no other way to describe it. They have employees sending out mass emails, so much that they are now filtering internal mass emails. If they have certain keywords, and trying to quash this down. Here's the thing: I don't think Microsoft cares. I really don't. They said we did an investigation of ourselves and found no wrongdoing. Of course, right? They're not going to. Microsoft is a company that exists to make money and to increase shareholder value. That is the only thing. When it comes to layoff, Microsoft doesn't care about the individual. Microsoft exists to make the shareholder money and increase value. How do they do that? They sell it to people who want to buy their technology. And Microsoft is like, this AI stuff, we're not losing this race, so we're going to sell it to whoever and whenever, and we're not going to take a moral stance on pretty much any of it. That's it. Mr. PKI says, Mr. PKI, or should I start calling him Mr. Indiana Jones? He says, since you gave up at Indiana Jones, how is Doom on the treadmill? It is good. It is good. It's a good tread. It's a good game for walking on the treads, right? Because it's slash, dash, burn, blow up. There's no critical thinking involved. There's not a lot of really puzzles as compared to Indiana Jones. It's just run, blow up, and when you're walking on a treadmill and you're starting to, I've been walking at inclines and it's starting to burn. It feels good to blow up monsters. It feels good. Amber Cobwell says, hey Brad, do you think everyone is going in the wrong direction for the future of gaming? Not to mention the prices. Do you also think they will make consoles more affordable or get more expensive? I don't know about you, but I'm very scared for the future of gaming. This is I'm scared for it for a different reason, but we'll address your question initially. So things are getting more expensive. Consoles are getting more expensive. Even look at the Switch, which was traditionally a lower priced console when compared to the wares from Xbox and Sony. So everything is getting more expensive. I expect next-gen consoles to be this is such a loaded, interesting statement because I expect next generation to be more expensive, but there's caveats involved, right? We expect PlayStation to be more expensive. I expect the first-party hardware from Xbox to be more expensive than current generation, but we're also continuing to hear this thing about, hey, the next generation Xbox is actually just a software layer that other vendors can build an Xbox. I don't know whether or not it's a true Xbox. I would, at this point, think it has to be. those have potential to help lower pricing, right? More competition in the space. This is an Xbox sort of thing. That has potential for lower cost entries. Now, it's not going to have the same performant hardware. I still expect, based on Phil Spencer saying we're going to build hardware, that Xbox will build a hero class device, sort of like the Surface model, right? But it's not going to be mass market. It's not going to be mass volume. And then there will be other partners out there building devices that will, expand the tier, expand the pricing models for that. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to get some flack for this probably. People don't need 4K 120 frames per second to have a good experience on a console. For a lot of people, 1080p, even on a 4K TV, this Xbox Series S is a fine experience. So 1080p mid-range hardware could potentially help lower third-party, quote-unquote Xbox devices compared to the first party that we're expecting, which is always at the top of the echelon. Now, why am I scared for gaming in other ways? Well, look at all this AI stuff that is coming out, right? You can now do video generations. We've already seen Minecraft demos where like the game is dynamically created in real time. So gaming is going to change a lot. How you create games is going to change a lot. It's also going to lower the barrier to game creation entry, which I also think is going to create a lot more slop. People, you can use, there's multiple ways to use AI. You can use AI to take your existing capabilities and 10x them and become highly more efficient and do more creative things because you have more capacity to do so. You also have the ability to say like, I'm not going to take the time to do this right. I'm just going to farm all this out to AI and it's just going to generate things that kind of sort of tie together. And it doesn't give you a great gaming experience because there's no harmonious connection across the entire experience because AI did it all, right? The one thing I feel that we're going to lose over time is that organic human curation. I keep joking in the back of my head. I'm going to start a company and it's going to be called Free Range Organic Data, right? And it's like human created data because right now synthetic data is being created at a volume we've never seen before. And what is synthetic data? Literally anything that comes out of an AI agent. That is not organic. That is synthetic because it's created by the pooter. And so like this is going to impact gaming one way or another, either from scripting, like the dialogue, right? The animations, all this stuff is going to get easier to build, in theory less expensive, and also faster. So those are all great things as long as they're done with like an actual story and game designers behind it and not just people just saying, just create a game and then just shipping it, if that makes sense. Mr. PKI with his second question, he says, anything interesting pop out of build this week compared to Google I/O? I mean, Google I/O's VO3 is genuinely scary. Right? That's how I would describe it. It's fascinating and it is very good. But it's not the good uses where I'm like creating a cat who's walking on the moon, reading memes about Neil Armstrong and swinging a golf club. It's the nefarious, the bad actors, the everything else that will come with it that is just being hucked out into the world. So anything from Microsoft side compared to Google I/O, I think the chatbot, the agents connecting directly into GitHub is going to be pretty cool as long as it works as well as I hope it does. Like my bar in my head right now is Sonnet 4. 3.7 is very good too, by the way. But it is 4. That's what I've been using for the past 24 hours. That's why it's top of my head from Claude and Anthropic. Like if they can get to that level and that becomes the new baseline, then yeah, there's a lot going to be happening here. Because the thing to remember about this AI stuff, as of right now, it is the worst it will ever be. It's only getting better. Now, there will be a ceiling at some point, we expect, right? Like that's naturally like how things work. At some point we will hit a ceiling where it's a diminishing return. We've already seen falters from like Meta where they've tried to do certain things. So it's like it's not just bulk data is the new oil. You need bulk data and then you need other weights and measures that are going to help as well. Widya Assassin, 4910 Widya Assastos, we'll go with that. He says, I use Microsoft Authenticator for work to access my Office servers when working from home. Oh, this is going to annoy me. I know where you're going. It's expanded its usefulness for being able to use two-factor authorization for my mail and cloud services and as a password manager. Oops, got to click read more. However, both payments and autofill functionality is being dropped later this year, becoming a part of Edge Mobile. If you have any idea why Microsoft is doing this, autofill has been useful in providing apps and logon credentials. I think you already know the answer because it's becoming part of Edge for mobile. And guess what they want you to use? The Microsoft is going to start. I've been feeling this way for a while based on the maneuvers that they've been making. They're going to try to force you to use Edge mobile going forward, right? The same way they try to force you to do this on the desktop. Guess what's coming to your phone? Edge Mobile. Guess what Microsoft's going to start trying to turn that dial and then making you use. So I candidly think that's why they're sacrificing usefulness and functionality for Edge usage because they got to increase those number of shares. Hey Brad, got any inklings on any new DirectX 12 Ultimate features for next-gen hardware? So there was some, yes. There was some NPU stuff that was announced at GDC earlier this year, and that's got to be related, right? I don't think they're going to go force that into like a DirectX 13. I don't think. I guess we don't exactly know, but there were some NPU discussions, and that's like the next new hotness, right, for game development. Fraser says, hi, I was wondering if you could get in touch with someone from the Xbox team who could check on the feature request section on Reddit so they can add share play and share screen functionality that PlayStation has soon as possible and make sure you can play games and co-op in the share screen. Yes and no. Like, I guarantee. So you got to understand that feature deployment and development for just even using Xbox isn't like I read Reddit and then I go do the thing. It's more of a top-down approach, so you need management to buy in and say, we need to do this, and somebody's got to advocate for it, and then somebody has to back it, and then somebody has to develop it. And by back it, I mean, like, it takes money and time to do these sorts of things. So it's not that Microsoft wouldn't want to do this, but they have other priorities in the queue. So if a new Xbox is coming and it needs certain X, Y, and Z features, or Z for my Canadian friends or potentially European friends, those are going to take priority over things like that. And so it's not that Xbox doesn't want to do this stuff. It's that we don't know their full priority queue. I guarantee you it's not them sitting around saying, I don't have enough to do on the Xbox side. I don't know why I can't just do this. It's more so they have a future hardware launch coming up, and they're probably trying to do everything they can to get ready for that. And so, yeah, I guarantee you many of them read Reddit, but it's just the ultimate, yeah, we hear the features you want, but go tell my boss who's already said I got to get these things done by this time so that we can meet these deadlines. Because let's pretend they are launching hardware in 2026, right? That would go into production like in a year. So they would start production like early. Oh shoot, no! If they're launching in 2026, they would be like full-scale production probably right now. They're probably starting to get close to the validation phase. So it's like they need a ton of stuff. Like, to build a console is a very long horizon. It's years. It's like multiple years. It wouldn't surprise me if they started on the next-gen console not a year or two after the Series X shipped. I mean, that's how long these things take. So, Joviera says, Brad, do you think Xbox should become more flexible, agile like the smartphone market? Every few years, a new console is released into the market, and should they only release a new model, or should they only release a new model every 6 to 7 years? So I think you are probably spot on in that they are going to shift for the next. Part of me thinks consoles generations died already, right? This current generation, how many consoles, how many games that shipped right now are already backwards compatible with last generation, like Call of Duty and other things like that. So the console generation, I think multiple people will agree, has never really arrived. We have games that are cross-generation. They still support back catalog or back console hardware. And so I think going forward, we're just going to see more of these companies, especially if Xbox does what we think they're going to do, where it's just this layer. Consoles will be released every year with new Intel chips and new AMD chips and new Snapdragon chips. That will be a console upgrade. It'll be more closer to a la PC gaming, if you will. And so I tend to think that actually console generations are already dead, and that we'll start seeing new models every year. Not maybe new models from Xbox proper every year, but new models just because of hardware innovation and new GPUs coming to market in that capacity. So there you go. I couldn't roll my tongue there. It ran out of water. That wraps it up for this week, guys. What a crazy, wonderful week. I love all the questions. As always, my friends, thanks for tuning in, and make sure to keep it subscribed here, because on the BS on this channel is me.